and welcome to The Rocker. My name is Todd. I am 50 plus from 50plusonfire.com, and I'm glad you've joined me today. The topic, fire your debt. We're going to talk about why debt sucks so much. I'm going to share some of my own stories here to begin with, and then some ideas on how to get out of debt on your own. And if you can't do it on your own, what are your third-party options? So here's how I know debt stinks. When I was a young adult, almost right out of high school, right into college, I got my first credit card. It was a Discover card. They offered it to me at $2,000 credit limit. And this was back in the 80s, mind you. That's a lot of money back then. It's a huge credit limit for a college student making basically zero. And I got it on I think it was a Wednesday morning. By Thursday night, it was maxed out to the tune of $2,000. And for the rest of my 20s, I was in credit card debt. To show you how quick of a learner I am, within about 5 months, I got another card. It was a Chevron card, $500 credit limit. Lived right across that semester. I lived right across from a Chevron, and I bought some gas, but mostly I bought milk and donuts and bread, and just I shopped for groceries across the street at the convenience store. And by about mid-semester, I think it was by about Thanksgiving, I had maxed out. I had not only maxed out that $500 credit card, Chevron card, I had taken it up to $800 with all the fees. So it took me a while to figure out. I mean, I knew I hated debt at that point, but I was just, it was a new concept to me. My parents were great with money, but they didn't realize that back in the 80s, there was this onslaught of credit cards on campus trying to get all students to sign up and giving away hats and frisbees and t-shirts and stuff. They didn't realize they needed to prepare me for that, and I was not prepared. My fault, totally own it, but it was something that I struggled with for a long time. Okay, so I have had times, whole decades, where I was in credit card debt and it stunk. I got into a lot of student loan debt. My undergrad and grad, I got about double what the average student loan debt was, and it stunk. Student loan debt can be potentially beneficial because it can help you earn more than what you could do without a degree, but you can easily get into way more than you need to. I've had moments where I've had tens of thousands of dollars worth of medical debt, and it stunk. It wasn't by choice, but it was frustrating. Car loan, I've had times when I just had a car loan, and it stunk. I have been amazed to watch this country, the U.S., skyrocket in its car loans. The average car loan is $550 in 2020. Over $550 a month. That's 10% of our household income going just to a car loan payment. Does not take into account insurance or maintenance. It's crazy, and that's just one car, and a lot of households have 2 or 3 car payments. I have served as a counselor for people going through bankruptcy, not a legal counsel, but a counselor for people going through bankruptcy. And besides a $200 or $300 cell phone bill, a massive car payment or truck payment was always one of the big, huge issues that people were struggling with, and that was sending them into bankruptcy. It seemed like avoid car payments, debt payments for cars and trucks. Business loans, I've been at a point where I had just a business loan, and that stunk. One of the highest risk loans you can take out. Yes, high risk, high reward. If you're successful, I would not do it again. I'm not going to do it again. I have started my last businesses on shoestrings because I did not like being in debt for my business. So I've kind of gone through it all. I've seen it all. I've done it all. Unfortunately, I've tried it all. It's not something I recommend. So let's talk about paying off debt on your own if you can. 4 types of repayment options if you can do this on your own. Now, they all hinge on these factors. You've got to know what your debt is. You've got to have a plan. What's your monthly payment? What is your, you've got to send extra payments. You can't just go with the minimum payment plan. You will be in debt. Even if you never use your credit cards again, you'll be in debt for 25 years probably. So, and you'll end up paying twice or more of what you originally borrowed. So, make extra payments. Come up with extra payments. If you can't just come up with it, figure it out on your own to $20, $30, for $50 a month extra, then do what a lot of people recommend is you take 10% of your grocery money and 10% of your dining out money. And you just figure that out every month, and that's what you send off extra to your creditors. That'll accelerate. Most households can come up with an extra $50 a month easy doing that, and you can accelerate your debt repayment and be out of debt in 5 years or less. So let's go through them. Now, everybody's heard of the snowball. Not a huge fan of the snowball. I think it's irresponsible to promote people start with snowball. That's fine, but stick with the snowball. It's irresponsible. It is not a smart idea. It's just not smart, and it's unnecessary. We'll get to that here in a minute. But what's called the avalanche, that's where it's the best way to do it, to get out of debt. You ask most people, what's going to motivate you to get out of debt? Saving money. Yeah, you don't want to spend a lot of money on interest and your credit cards. There is no disputing the avalanche is the best way to get out of debt and save the most money. You send your extra payment. You send minimum payments to everything except the one with the highest interest rate. You send your extra money there, and you're out of debt quickly, as the quickest option, and you save yourself money and time. And it might only be 2 or 3 months, but when you're talking about anywhere from $500 a month in monthly payments to $2,000 a month, that's $5,000 if you save yourself 2 months worth of payments. Okay, so that's the avalanche. There's one that is called the Landslide. Developed it when I as an employee for moneyfit.org, and that is where you send your extra money to your newest account. Now, what the Landslide does, it helps you build your credit, or rebuild most times, rebuild your credit faster. Rebuilding your credit by sending your extra payments to the account that is the newest account that you have, because FICO and Vantage Score, they weight activity on newest accounts or newer accounts more heavily than they do activity on older accounts. It's because they are better predictors. Activity on new accounts are better predictors of future behavior than activity on older accounts. So it helps you by pulling down your reducing your balances on newer accounts and getting current on them. You are going to build and rebuild your credit faster. So that's the Landslide. If your goal is to buy a home in the next year or two, or get a business loan, anything like that where you're going to need to borrow money, you're going to want to use the Landslide because it rebuilds your credit fastest. The third one, now this one that I've come up with, I call it the Debt Blowhole. And because everybody hates debt. This sounds kind of, if you've ever seen a blowhole, I went on a cruise with my kids a number of years ago down Ensenada, California, I think it's called, or Southern California, Baja California in Mexico. And they have a blowhole out there. And if you've ever seen a blowhole, there aren't very many of them in the world. You hear it come, and the air comes up through this hole, and the water shoots up. It sounds pretty angry, and that's what the blowhole is about. The debt blowhole is, if you need motivation, try this. Find the debt, identify the debt that you hate the worst or the most. It might be because the customer service agents just were dissing you when you're calling them, or they're dismissing your situation. You're angry with them. Maybe it's the one that charges you the highest interest. Maybe it's the one that you just don't like the way they've treated you over the years. That's the one you focus on most. Get out of that debt. You'll feel better. That'll be motivation. The debt blowhole. The debt snowball, okay, it's based on the premise that, and there are a few studies that show this, but there are other studies that show that it's not the same. It's not actually how this works. But it says if you can get some small, quick victories, you can stay motivated. Small wins. So you identify the account with the smallest balance, and you focus your extra payments on that, and you're out of debt. And out of that one, you get rid of that debt quickly, and then you can say, "Yay, I'm out of debt," and you stay motivated. Okay, a couple of things. One, studies also show that you are motivated by the method that you believe in. And if you believe the talk show host that says this is the one that's for you, then that's the one you're going to stick with. But the reality is, the snowball, do it. I tell people, go ahead and do it until you're out of the first debt or the second debt. But after that, don't stick with the snowball. Move to the Avalanche or move to the Landslide, because you are spending extra money on interest. You are. And it's not a good financial move. So use the snowball to start and get rid of it. Get rid of it. Stop listening to the talking head that is charging money for all this other products that he's selling. He's making millions of dollars, and they're making, there's several of them, promoting something that is irresponsible. Don't stick with the snowball. It works for all those people, all those blind followers who don't know what they're doing. Yeah, they get out of debt eventually, but you can get out of it faster by using the Landslide or the Avalanche the best. Even the Blowhole, you can sometimes, it's the same concept. Whatever's the motivational. But move to the Avalanche eventually. It's the best product. It's the best program for getting you out of debt fastest. Okay, so those are your options for getting out of debt on your own. What if you've tried it? What if you've called the creditors and you've tried to lower your interest rate on your own? You can't, they won't do it, and you just can't afford your monthly payments. 3 options really quickly. 1, and a disclaimer, I am an employee of a nonprofit credit counseling agency. That's where you start. Start with a nonprofit credit counseling agency if you can't pay off your debts on your own. They will work with your creditors to lower your interest rates, typically to 2%, 5%, 8%. And you'll be out of debt in 5 years or less. There are some fees, but they're minimal, and even with the fees, there's an enrollment fee. It's capped by every state. There's an administrative monthly fee. They're capped by every state. A lot of these programs will have, if you're military or ex-military, they'll have programs to reduce or eliminate some of those fees. That is how you start with a third party. Go to fcaa.org. It's Financial Counseling Association of America, or nfcc.org. You'll find nonprofits there that you can trust. If that doesn't work, and it only works for about a third of people who go to them, you might consider, and I'm not a fan of this, but some people go with debt settlement companies. Debt settlement company is one that says, hey, pay us for a year or two, and then by then we'll come up with about 50% of what you owe, and we will force them to accept a settlement. It's not going to work. They're going to promote all these clients that they have helped, but that's about 3% or 5% or less of the clients that actually go to them. A large percentage of others who go to them actually end up being sued by the creditor because they tell them, send a letter. It's basically a cease and desist. Send a letter to them that they can't contact you anymore. And they can't by law. Fair Debt Collection Practices Act says if they get a letter from you asking them not to contact you, they can't. The only thing they can do, though, and they will, is take you to court or send you to a collection agency who will then probably take you to court. It's not a good idea. Please keep your money in your wallet. Send it. Work with your creditors. Figure it out. The only time debt settlement seems logical in my mind is if you already have the money in hand and you can already contact them directly yourself. You can do it yourself, and negotiate a better repayment. Otherwise, the next and really last option is bankruptcy. I'm not a fan of bankruptcy, but it's there for a reason. If you can't take care of your debts, and you're about to lose your assets from a home, vehicles. I hate people. I hate situations where people think that they have to file for bankruptcy to save their vehicle. We are so in love with our vehicles. The stupidest financial move is to file bankruptcy to keep your car. Get rid of the car. Get rid of the car. It's a car. And drive just a junker for a while. People are embarrassed. You're not embarrassed to file bankruptcy? It's a terrible situation to file bankruptcy just to save your car. And I've talked to people who have to keep that $70,000 truck that they're paying $700, $800, $900 a month on to keep up appearances. Get rid of the truck. Get rid of the car. If you have to file for bankruptcy, get rid of the truck. Don't try and save it through bankruptcy. It's not a smart financial move for most people. But the other asset that is worth saving through bankruptcy is your income. If you are having your wages garnished, really about the only way around that, other than paying off that debt, and if you're having your wages garnished, you probably can't afford to pay off that debt, is typically bankruptcy. And you can file for bankruptcy on your own. About 1 in 5 people do. But if there's any complexity at all, talk to an attorney. Please talk to an attorney. Yes, they're going to charge you $2,000 to help you file for bankruptcy. It's expensive, but they'll help you figure out a way to do that so that you don't pay your loans for a few months, because you're going to include them in bankruptcy anyway, and they'll say, save that and pay us for a couple of months until you can afford to get our payment all taken care of, and then we'll get you through bankruptcy. It stinks. It's a lousy situation, but it's there for a reason. If you're going to file for bankruptcy, you have to see a credit counselor anyway, which is why I say, if you're having any kind of debt problems that you can't take care of on your own, go see a credit counselor to begin with. If that doesn't work, now you can get the certificate that the bankruptcy or the credit counselor you need from them anyway, and then you can take that to the attorney and or to the bankruptcy court. Those are your options then. Recap. Pay off on your own by lowering your interest rate with your creditor if you can negotiate that, and coming up with extra payments, taking 10% of your groceries or your dining out or your entertainment. And then on your own, pay it off using the Avalanche top rated #1, absolutely the best option to go. If you can't find the motivation. You're an adult. Do it. Stop screwing around. Do the Avalanche. Or if you're trying to rebuild your credit, do the Landslide. If you want that motivation, find the one that you hate the most and do the Blowhole. Or if you want to follow and be the sheep and do what everybody else thinks is what they're doing, then go with the Snowball for until you're paid off a debt or two, but then switch to the Avalanche. If you can't do it on your own, if that's still not working, then go with a credit counseling agency. You might look at debt settlement if you have to, or bankruptcy. Those are your options. But get rid of your debt. If you want to be financially independent, you cannot go into financial independence and early retirement with debt, mortgage debt included. Yes, financial advisors are going to say, don't pay off your mortgage because you can make more in the market than you can than you're paying on your mortgage. True, but that's on paper. In reality, you want to be debt free. You're not independent if you owe money to somebody. You're not independent if somebody owns a part of your finances. Don't retire early until you're not going to retire until you are debt free, all debt free. Thanks for joining me today from the Rocker. Again, check us out at 50plusonfire.com/debt. You can get some more information on all these options. That's 50 Plus on Fire, 50 PLUSON fire.com, 50plusonfire.com/debt. In the meantime, or until the next time, keep rocking your financial independence. Thanks for joining me.